Welcome to THRS Deep Cuts. I'm Andrew.
I'm Brendan.
I'm Tim.
We didn't preface that, but we got it out in one go. Normally, before we start filming, we go, okay, who's the order? And then we didn't do it this time, but we've established it without even worrying about it. So it worked out.
We're total professionals at this.
It depends on who's on the panel, I think. Makes a big difference. Please make sure you're following us on all of our social media channels. The details for us, I'm not saying it's on the screen anymore because that's for the TV side of things. You'll find all the information you need on us on the description for this, whether you're watching or listening to this. So please hit those details. Follow us across all of our social media platforms. Subscribe. Give us your feedback. All that sort of stuff. You know what to do by now with the online stuff. And if you'd be so kind, please do also check out our Patreon page. Again, the details are there. We've got all sorts of stuff for you, starting as little as $2 a month. Just give us a bit of a support. You get early access to videos that we do, Zoom sessions, reviews we'll do for you, giveaways, all sorts of stuff there. So check it out, have a look, and any help you can give us will be greatly appreciated. Speaking of those that do give us help, we would love to thank our sponsors yet again in Squidding, Screen Printing, Alt Cult, and Rockstar Finance. I know times are tough, so please, again, their links are in the description. Make sure you follow them on their social because they're always good to, just give them a bit of love for the support they give us here at the show while Tim is smashing his drinks.
This one's nearly finished. I got the second one there. Wait, there.
It's a Monday night as we do this one today, so we're moving all over the joint at the moment because we're all doing different things. But remember to tune in to us on television. It's Thursday nights on Channel 44 in Adelaide at 10:30 p.m. and then in Melbourne it's Saturday nights at 10:30 p.m. on Channel 31. So check us out on television as well. For this episode, we're going to go through the latest from Private Function and Avatar. We're going to go to a classic review from Gamma Ray, and then we're going to do the latest from Trivium as well. We'll have a hot topic in just a second to do with collectible merchandise. But before we get stuck into that, how is everyone going? How's your week been? It's been a little while since we've had you on, Brendan. You missed the last one or two, I think. So how have you been?
Well, battling on. Work's been flat out, which is good. I'm one of these small business owners these days that everyone likes to point at when it suits their argument.
You're a political football right now.
Exactly, I'm a political football. But look, we've been really busy now, so it's never been so happy to be working so hard. So it's going all right. It's going all right, but I need a fucking haircut.
Oh, well, you got to get through Christmas. Well, like you'll be leading into the busy part of the year for you now. So
yeah, it's only starting, so that's the concern. But anyway, we'll cope.
It's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things. How about you, Tim? How have you been?
I too need a haircut.
Are you going to cut it? Are you? I thought you were going to keep growing it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can be fucked. To be honest with you, like
the maintenance.
I cut it initially because it was high maintenance. I don't know if I'm ready to do that again. I'll grow a beard because I chose 10 minutes sleep over shaving, so I don't know if I can do long hair. And apart from that, pretty good.
Solid.
Well, the hairdressers are open now, so everyone can be happy.
That's it. So I might have something to do tomorrow, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I will not be cutting my hair. That's not going to happen.
Go on.
No. If I did that, it'd be this fucking porcupine fucking weird thing because it's also a lot of it, but it's all really fine. So it'll just stick up in all sorts of directions. So the length of it is what keeps it down. And as for the beard, that's been there for over 20 years now, so it's not going anywhere. But apart from all those, self-grooming things, everything's pretty good, actually. Just need an ad for Manscaped to go in this one.
No, let's not.
Yeah, no, let's not. But no, everything's good overall. It looks like I might be getting some more permanent work coming my way in the near future. I'm actually waiting on a text or a phone call as we do this one, so we'll see what happens when it comes to the editing process. But no, everything's good overall. Just trying not to pay attention to what's happening in the political football sphere because the politicians are all a bunch of fuckwits. Aside from that, life's good.
Nice.
Still can't see the kids though because they live more than 50k away. So, so hopefully, but it's only a couple of weeks now, and hopefully even next week it'll be over and done with, and then it won't matter anymore. So nearly at the finish line. I think that's the big thing too. When you can see a light at the end of the tunnel, it makes a bit of a difference to everyone. I think overall.
Absolutely.
But let's move on to the actual stuff we're here to talk about, and that is the hot topic for this week is Brendan's idea, and this is basically because you were looking at the AC/DC new album coming out and going through the different merch options and that. So I guess the idea behind this topic is what sort of collectible merchandise interests us or catches our attention the most. And Brendan, it was your idea, so over to you first.
Yeah, well, it started from the point where, I'm always one that, buys CDs, as seen here.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sort of getting to that point now where I think buying CDs is a waste of time because
Spotify.
Well, not just that Spotify and streaming and everything's available. It's actually the fact I'm running out of devices to play them on.
Yeah.
You buy a new computer, it doesn't have a CD. You buy a new car, it doesn't have a CD player. So what's the point in owning the CD? So even though I've gone I haven't gone anti-vinyl. I've gone anti-vinyl wankers from time to time on this very program.
Yes,
but the idea sort of came that, if you want a hard copy of something, well, vinyl's probably not a bad option because, you've got the collectible side of it. It's not because it sounds better, because it doesn't. But you've got this collectible thing. So AC/DC released a new album. Now I'd probably buy that in some shape or form regardless. I'm not saying it's going to be the best album. I'm not saying I'm excited about it. We've got the rest of their fucking albums. I might as well get this one.
Yep.
And so I was on the JB Hi-Fi site and I'm having a look at what was available. So they had the most expensive one was this CD thing with this light up
USB charger and stuff with it.
Yeah, and I sort of looked at that. But yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. But again, do I want a CD? Is that going to be collectible? And again, it's not that I think anything's going to have great value in 30 years' time, because it probably won't.
Yeah.
But then you look at the vinyl on like a limited edition, like exclusive only to JB Hi-Fi, like yellow vinyl kind of thing. I've gone, that's kind of cool because that's an interesting pressing.
Yeah.
I've gone, okay, yeah, interesting, yeah, not bad. And then they've got the picture disc, which I also like picture discs.
Yes.
But the problem is when you buy a picture disc, you generally lose album artwork, sleeves, because they generally come in just a plastic thing and it's just the disc.
Yeah.
So I actually just put it out to the group in our little group chat. I'm like, what do you think is actually the most sensible purchase? And everyone had different opinions. I thought it was kind of cute. I ended up actually settling on the full vinyl on the yellow print. I was
okay, cool.
Yeah, I thought that was quirky. But yeah, just always an interesting take on what's what's more desirable. It's not even collectible is probably the wrong word, because it's not like you're buying these things to as an investment.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but sort of what's the more desirable thing? So for me personally, it ended up just being the vinyl. Yeah, on that original color pressing, and I actually did the same with that Corey Taylor album. There was a signed vinyl thing. I thought I'll grab one.
Cool.
But man, I don't know. It's kind of where I landed on it.
So. All right. What about you, Tim? What tends to get your attention in this regard these days?
As far as new release albums go?
Yeah.
Honestly, nothing.
Thanks for your contribution.
Yeah. You youngster, you.
Look, to be honest, like I haven't bought a new album, a new CD since when did Death Magnetic come out?
Jesus, 2006,
someone. 8
Yeah, that would have been the last one.
Wow. Okay.
It was the last time I bought a new CD.
Look it up.
Yeah. Okay.
Because after that I was just streaming.
Yeah.
2008.
It was 8. Okay, well done, Brendan.
Yeah, because after that it would have just been downloaded to streaming. As far as like collectible stuff goes, like I'll buy a vinyl to get it signed.
Yep.
If I'm meeting someone, because again I think that looks cool. But yeah, like for me, as far as like special releases go, I like bootlegs.
Okay.
I like early rehearsal footage. I like demo releases. I like live shows off the soundboard.
Okay.
Things like that. That's what that's the sort of things, like if you're going to get me to buy extra content, that's the sort of thing I would buy. But as far as a new release goes, like I mean, as I said, like I don't know a CD player, I don't know a vinyl player, so what's the point?
Okay.
Yeah, nothing.
It's interesting that we're even getting different takes across this conversation, even though we had the chat already about it in just our group too. I'm probably
an age group thing too, because I mean, you and I remember, my dad taught me to buy vinyl when I was a kid.
Well, the ritual of putting a vinyl on, when you want to put music on, you put the vinyl on. That was the ritual.
My whole man's theory was that you buy the vinyl, you can make your own tapes from the vinyl.
Yeah.
And then because tapes did tend to wear out, of course, So you can make 100 of them. You've kind of got that master copy. I'm like, yeah, cool theory. So
the only thing cassettes were good for was in the car back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the car ate most of them anyway.
Yeah.
Eventually. So
get the pen and re-spool it.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. No, my Kiss album.
You poor sad bastards.
No, but it's
a rite of passage, Tim, and you missed out.
Times were tough, but so I think my dad got that idea of having a master copy, which is why I'll always keep these CDs, because I've got a master. Like if Spotify dies and Apple Music dies for whatever reason down the track, I still have a master copy.
Yeah,
cool. Which is why I think vinyl's interesting, but because I bought so much vinyl when I was really young, you had the album artwork and inner sleeves and all that kind of shit that we would have enjoyed that Tim wouldn't have known through.
Well, the artwork was bigger and more dynamic. You had the lyric sheet.
Well, the only band that actually gives a shit about full artwork now would be off the top of my head, Mastodon.
I knew you were going to say Mastodon.
But they will release posters. They will release posters and shit like that.
Yeah,
I'm more than happy to put up for that. And there's I'm not saying there's bands with cool covers, but I'm talking about bands that will release the old vinyls with the full, the lyric sheets that's got artworks behind it and everything like that. Nobody does everything like that anymore.
No, they should, I think.
But why? Because no one's.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a revival in it.
But also I think that, going on a tangent a bit here, but I think that it's important. The artwork side of things is important because you can have different designs for different singles and stuff, and that's a different range of T-shirts you can pump.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah, but you're getting the artwork done anyway, so that's where if you've got the artwork, you may as well maximize the use of the artwork. That's where I'm talking about the crossover appeal of all that sort of stuff. So,
but yeah, no, as far as new release stuff goes, nothing really. I was tempted to buy the Newstead EP to get the Newstead picks.
Yep.
But again, the keyword being tempted, I never actually bought it.
It's going to come down to predominantly how you listen to your music. I think most of us these days, even the older people, are getting into the streaming side of things more and more easily. So then it comes down to, okay, what's going to separate, the people with their money kind of thing? What's going to make people part with their hard-earned? I think vinyl is the resurgent one and has been for quite some time. Vinyl sales are now outstripping CD sales and have been for a little bit too. So those things are now re-established as a market.
But is that vinyl sales going up or CD sales going down?
The vinyl sales going up.
Both.
Yeah, it's a combination, but vinyl sale is definitely going up every year.
Okay.
And then tapes are even making a comeback. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to go and buy any fucking tapes, but it's interesting to see that people are still going down that pathway for some reason or another.
That's a collectible, though, and I think some people are releasing them as a bit of a novelty.
Yeah.
That's the hipster moment.
Yeah. That's where it's going.
When they had the Bon Iver listening party and just some guy with a cassette tape in a laneway.
I've never heard anyone make the argument cassette sound better.
No, you can't make that argument. Nonsense argument. Fuck off.
You got that kind of tuning that only a pen in the thing can provide.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. May as well go back to fucking 8 tracks at this rate. But the thing for me is that when it comes down to this sort of stuff, I think you can make an argument that it's all going to be online anyway, but I think the content that I enjoy the most is I love vinyl. I like the picture discs and that sort of stuff. So if I'm going to get a big, a fold out vinyl with the lyrics inside and a poster in there or something, like something you can actually stick up on the wall, because when you're a bit older and the kids are a bit older, you tend to have your own, like Brendan's got behind in the man cave there, you'll end up sticking that shit on your wall and that'll be what decorates your room out a bit. So for the older of us, I think that's a thing where you go back to your youth a bit and revisit your posters on the wall kind of mentality and that sort of stuff. And that's why, sports cards are on the resurgence and that at the moment too, is that the people that were doing that back then are now doing it with their kids. So it's a cyclical thing. So for me, I enjoy things like that. But I also like the behind the scenes sort of stuff. So things that I tend to go to for example, the Year and a Half documentary with Metallica and the Black Album and the tour following. Like, that's really cool stuff, man. Yeah, I know you'll get all that online, but if you could find a way to incorporate it, that to me is better than something like a light up gimmick box, because I just don't think those things will last. Otherwise, a limited edition signed sort of thing, that'd be cool. Because when you get deep into it for the collector side of things, if you get like the first edition of anything, be it a book, a record, or whatever else, then there's always some value in that down the line anyway.
So the one Nicky got, the old Alice Cooper one that came with a pair of undies, original and stuff. Like, that shit's kind of cool now. Like, really, it seems campy, and to release that now would be dumb, but to actually get your hands on that, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I wonder if Kiss killed it a bit, or bands like Kiss killed it a bit by overdoing it.
Absolutely.
Different hot topic for a different time, perhaps, but
Metallica are no better.
No,
they got a million different thises.
But it goes back to Elvis Presley, man.
Yeah.
And eventually you become a parody of yourself, and doing things like that becomes, a gimmick.
No,
which is kind of a shame, because it's an income stream that we call use right about that.
But I think the mentality might have shifted on that regard too. I think people, generally speaking, will know that the artists start making a boatload of money out of CD sales and touring, especially at the moment. So merchandising is a way of.
To be honest, they're not making much money out of touring, out of shirt sales either.
No, you still. Yeah, well, I still think bands will make more money out of T-shirt sales than anything else they're going to do. Personally. I think that's the one that people will go for, especially if you get a good design. But again, those are all conversations we've had before, and I'm sure we'll have those conversations again. But yeah, out there, give us your thoughts. What sort of, when it comes to new albums and little add-ons to new releases and stuff, what are you sort of looking for in that regard? What's going to get you to part with your hard-earned to buy something physical from a band versus just streaming it from a platform? I think that's what's the hook? What's going to make you spend? It's a good question to ask, I reckon. Hopefully we'll get some feedback on that one. I think we'll move on to our first review for this episode, and we're going to go to a local band first, like we tend to do, and that is Private Function with Whose Line Is It Anyway? 13 tracks for 32 minutes. It's the second album from the Australian band, released August 2020 by Damaged Record Co. / Caroline Australia. Engineered by Matt Chow and mastered by Mikey Young. This album comes about pretty much 1 year exactly after their debut album, so they're pumping things out rather quickly. And we'll go to you first, Tim.
Straight up, this is an all-time classic. This is a fantastic album.
Did you hear the first one? Did either of you hear the first album?
No. I heard the first one.
Okay.
Look, it's what the only one you look, it's what you would call a modern punk album, which is a bit more, Dead Kennedy's influence than Ramones' influence.
Yeah, yep, that's fair.
Definitely more, more chaos and deep beats, and it's not complicated. It's 3 chords played out of order and sung out of tune, and it's fantastic. The
regular
thing that I love it, but this is not going to be an album for everybody. You got to be into the style at least somewhat. But if you're into it, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Even if you're into bands like Architects and things that are a bit more heavier, you should probably check this out. If you're into Clowns, anything like that,
Clowns is a good.
Give this a whirl. To be honest with you, if you're into Clowns, you've probably heard Private Party anyway, or Private Function.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's wrestling, mate.
Yeah, wrong one. But what I loved about this too is that despite all the chaos, you could still hear everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Nothing was overcooked. Nothing was too dirty. Everything was nice and where you wanted it to be. Nice order and chaos. It was really well done. Obra Wodonga is my highlight. That track was stuck in my head instantly, and is still stuck in my head today.
As soon as you hear it.
It's fantastic. And you can see yourself driving down the Hume going.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the video. 9 out of 10?
Pretty much. 9 out of 10. This is great. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Brendan.
I'm partial to a bit of punk myself. I'd never heard this band, never heard of this band, so more fool me. This is one of the best punk albums I've heard in the last 20 years.
Wow.
This is just fucking phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. They managed to avoid the pitfalls of most of the punk albums that have come out in the last 20 years. They don't sound like some shit-house Blink-182 or fucking Good Charlotte poxy pop punk effort.
Got rid of the whiny tone too.
Yeah, they managed to capture something that's kind of between, you know, the Clash and the Dead Kennedys. They've done such a good job of just getting a really original punk sound. It's not regurgitating anyone else, but it also doesn't sound, you know, campy and modern. They've got this sort of really good vintage sound somehow, but still sounding like it was recorded now, which makes no fucking sense. But it's punk and it's great. But this really, really impressed me a lot. I just played this a few times in a row. I fucking loved it. But, you know, I lean towards a bit of the punk stuff as Tim does.
Yeah.
You know, I reckon if you had, you know, Dave and Mick on this panel tonight, you'd be getting a very, very different opinion.
I got the right panel for this album, I think.
Yeah, this is just fucking phenomenal. I also gave it 9 out of 10. And the only reason I took a point off was the Are You Gonna Go My Way cover, which didn't fucking belong. Even though they kind of did a cool version of it.
Oh, yes.
They did a pretty good job.
They could have done a cool version of something else.
I did a good... I agree. I think that took me out of it.
Yeah, it's sort of...
Personally.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's kind of stopped the album dead, and then it picked up.
I can see that...
So it kind of...
to be honest with you, though, I can see them, like, you know... I can see them playing that, like, the Pally Bar.
Yeah.
And the whole place would just explode.
And they're probably doing it because it's funny, because it's Triple M's most played song of all time. They're going, fuck you, we're going to have our fun with it. And fair enough, I get it, but nah, I would have done something else. But anyway, that's me. And that only lost them 1 point, and they ended up with a solid 9. For me, it was Sleep Paralysis, I don't want to make out with you, and Irresponsible Dog Owner. I loved it.
Some of the song titles are fantastic. You got to give a nod to that straight away. This is very, very Australian. I like the punk-infused hard rock about it. This is dumb fun. And I don't normally go for this sort of stuff as readily as you guys do, but this is a lot of fun. It's pretty easy to get into this, I think, for anyone just about. It's punchy, high tempo. It doesn't hang around very long. Nothing highbrow on this, but don't underestimate it because it gets under your skin pretty fucking quick. I like the grit, but also the hooks that go with that grit, which is a surprising sort of a blend to it. It gets like, you know, Aubrey Wodonga is a hook that is stuck in your head immediately. The vocals are that blend of sort of a clean, typical Bogan pub style, but also sort of that Airborne thing. So I feel like Joel from Airborne, his vocal tone and that, you get a bit of that on this one too.
Yeah, they got an Australian pub rock vibe into a
punk band.
It was really very interestingly
cool.
done. So
yeah. Don't get many like this. I did enjoy the last album too. So I liked the debut, and this is very, very good as well. I think my would-be sister-in-law likes this band as well. So Beth, if you liked the debut album like I think you did, then you'll like this one too. Okay, lyrically entertaining, like I said, but it's got a nice mix. The lyrics are the fun part of this, but the mix is surprisingly, like when you think about punk bands, generally speaking, for me, you think about, you know, harsh tones and all that sort of stuff. This is pretty warm. It's got that pub and the road feel about it, but it's really well mixed. You can hear everything really clearly. Nothing about this is slapped together. There's actually a fair bit of detail put in this, like some of the panning and, you know, if you deep listen on this, you do a deep dive, there's some surprise in there too. Like there's some little layering tricks done. It's very, very well done. It's just, you got some good songs with a great attitude that's a lot of fun. You just went and mixed them really well. So very well done on that front too. Performances were only as solid as they needed to be, which is perfect for the style of music. You want that sort of looseness in there. If it was too tight, it wouldn't work. Nothing here is groundbreaking, but it's perfect for a long drive. Like Tim said, you can see yourself going down the Hume with this CD on, and you probably spin it 5 times before you even think about changing the CD kind of thing. Like it flies by, and it's so easy to repeat spin. It's funny, the Lenny Kravitz thing. I find it odd that, you know, if I had Envenom to do their version of it, and now these guys have done their version of it, 2 very different versions of the same song. And it's funny that Lenny Kravitz is one of the go-to in Australian bands at the moment. Don't know why. I didn't mind it. I thought it was well placed being in the middle of the album. It gave it that break. Not that it's a long one, but it did do that. Like it pulled you out of it maybe, but for me it was like, okay, here's your sort of flip to side A to side B kind of moment, and it was a different take on it. Nothing too different, but it was different enough to make it interesting. But like I said, it's a dumb, fun listen that's just meant to make you have a really good time, and it does that. If you like anything from Green Day through to Airborne, and also things like the old school ones like Dead Kennedys and The Clash and all sort of stuff, you're going to enjoy this one a lot. I think if you bands like this, the Chats and that, have a good chance of making it at the moment. So I don't know if they are getting played, but you could see these guys getting played on radio on the back of this. Like Aubrey Wodonga is a standout track. It is my pick of this album, but that song alone should be enough to get them some serious radio play in this country because it's perfect. It's very Australian. Like there's nowhere else more called Aubrey Wodonga, so it makes sense. I hope they go far. This is very, very cool. And again, like I said, I like the debut album as well. 8 out of 10 from me. Aubrey Wodonga, Sleep Paralysis, and Static Electricity, my standouts on this one. Yeah, there are some good ones in there. No, there are no dud songs on this record, though. No. Like even the last track, minute and a half long, Grabbing My Butt.
That is awesome.
I love that song.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a very cool album. So well done to the boys, and hopefully they'll kick on and do some very cool and fun things moving down the line from here. Now, though, we move into a completely different vein, to a different part of the planet, and we're going to go with Avatar and their latest in Hunter Gatherer. 10 tracks for 45 minutes, the 8th studio album from the Swedish band, released August 2020 via E1 and Century Media. Produced by Jay Ruston at Spin Road Studios. We're coming back to this band after the last album we did was Avatar Country in 2018. We all enjoyed that one, so I figured why not go with this one? And Brendan, we'll go to you first.
I think Avatar Country made my top 5 albums of the year.
Yeah, it was up there for a lot of us.
Yeah, I fucking loved that album. And this isn't a million miles away. It's very clever, and to try and describe Avatar to someone who's never heard them is just impossible. Because it's just so wide and varied that, you know, I can understand some people even finding it a bit contrived. I don't. I like what they do. Yeah, you find when a band's are really reaching for all these different sort of genres in one album, it can feel disjointed, and you feel like, guys, just settle on a style and run with it. But I don't get that with Avatar for some reason. I find myself looking forward to what the next track's going to sound like.
Makes sense. It flows.
It does.
It shouldn't, but it does.
Yeah, it is. They're intriguing. And this album's no different. I don't think it quite lived up to Avatar Country for me. Like that really blew me away.
That's a hard one to top.
Yeah, this was great. And if I hadn't heard the other one, it's, you know, I probably would go, okay. But I'll keep this another couple of listens because it may grow further on me. I've only got a chance to listen to this a couple of times, but really enjoyed it.
Yep.
If you liked Avatar Country, you will enjoy this. It's certainly, I'm probably making it sound like it's disappointing. It's not. It was great. I gave it 8.5 out of 10 because I loved it. It sounds amazing, beautifully captured. They capture the heavy and the light so well. Yep. I got Silence in the Age of the Apes, Child and Justice. They're two different songs.
Two different songs. Yep.
Yeah, Child and Justice. So yeah, look, I loved it. Great album. Really enjoyed it.
All right. Cool. Tim.
I did not like it.
No.
I did find it contrived a bit. The way I would describe it is...
Did you like the last one, Tim?
I didn't listen to the last one.
Okay. All right.
So the way I would describe it is, you know, when you've got your playlist on shuffle and you've got King 810 and then it's followed by the Beatles.
Yeah.
Except, you know, all the Beatles tracks have Ringo singing on it. I can't fault these guys are great musicians. I just wish this guy would scream because when he sings, it sounds like he's making fun of singers. He sings with a frog in his throat. Remember? I found it a bit of a stretch. You know, like I mean, there was, I found it annoying to be honest with you. Like the jumping between, and I found I couldn't. Yeah, it was just too big of a jump. It felt like, you know, rather than like. If you had ADHD, maybe, an ADHD musical listen, like, you know, it was just a really annoying kid of an album.
Okay.
And, I could not get into it whatsoever.
Wow.
Like, I just couldn't settle down. I loved the opening track.
Yeah.
I love the opening track. I had my high hopes after that. But, again, I think these are great musicians. Everything sounds great, apart from the vocals. That's what he sings. But yeah, I just can't get into the songwriting.
Okay.
Yeah. 5 is neither here or there. It's obviously a taste thing because
going to be.
again, I can't fault the playing. I can't fault anything. It's just, it's just not my thing.
Yep.
But yeah, the opening track's pretty good. But yeah.
All right, cool. So Tim's standard is Silence in the Age of Apes, like Brendan had as well, which is funny that Brendan loved it and Tim not so much, and that's still a standout track for both of you. But it's not a standout track for mine.
Yeah.
There, so off we go. Now, I would be curious to hear what Tim thinks of the previous one. Tim, I reckon, should check out Avatar Country because I think it's a different beast to this one.
Yeah, I agree.
This one's, this has the diversity that the band is known for, but this is more straight ahead than Avatar Country as well. Avatar Country had some much wider swings going on than what you get on this record. You still get those swings, but the extremes are narrower.
It felt more fluent. Avatar Country felt more fluent than this one.
And because it wasn't this persistence with trying to get the word king into everything, then it makes a bit more sense, I guess.
What I didn't like was it changed without a reason for it to change.
Okay.
It felt like there was a jump. There was no build to anything. There was just here's spot A, here's spot B.
Okay. Try the one before. I reckon definitely try Avatar Country because I reckon that might make more sense to you if nothing else. Even if you don't like it, it'll make more sense because it's got a theme going through it. For me, this was a much more straight ahead album than the last one. It still, like I said, has the diversity in there, but it's got twists and turns, but it's just generally, within a narrower confine. The modern style and sound works well for this band. It's not a traditional metal album. It's much more contemporary, but it's not generic, which is cool. I like, it's the harsh vocal built around the riff, that kind of thing. It's funny because you say it's not groundbreaking, but at the same time, they're doing something that no other band really does at the same time too. So while it sounds the same, it's more in the composition that things are done that little bit differently. It's got that dark humor that was in the last album as well, but there's a fair bit more, I think, intensity and genuine aggression on this one than Hunter Gatherer. Lyrically loaded in that regard, but it's very well done all around. But I did like the use of melody on this one. I reckon, like Tim obviously didn't get the vocals, but I enjoyed the vocals. I enjoy the melody. There's some good hooks in there too. The funny thing is when I say that, though, I still can hear the song Avatar Country in my head when I think about this band versus, we've come from an album that was pretty bloody good, and this one's not up to that hype for mine, but it's still a good record. Still, like I said, they're an interesting band. This one has anything from whistling, synth, ukulele, all sort of stuff going on in here. There's enough in there to make it very, very interesting. But all the stuff was used pretty sparingly, which I thought was a smart trick, not overdone, not overbearing in trying to be too hard to be different. I think it does all fit for me. It made sense. I didn't get the impression that Tim got where it was just, here's part A, here's part B. For me, there was a journey in this, which was interesting. It's one of those ones I think that's much more rewarding on the deep listen, though. A casual listen won't really allow you to take in everything that's going on with this band. I think you got to sit down and give them a bit of time. I don't know if Brendan listened to it just as background music, but I had it background music, and then when I actually sat down to really sit and get into it, that was when it was like, okay, this makes a lot more sense when I'm really focusing on the record versus doing other stuff in the background. I thought that, the way it was mixed, things went back and forth was really cool done. All those little tricks are there, nice layering, all that sort of stuff that's where you got those things really present in the deep listen to it. I like their sense of groove. They've got a good sense of groove, and they avoid a lot of the pitfalls of this sort of stuff where it's just, blast beats for the sake of it and all that sort of stuff. They shift the tempos and play with the groove. All that sort of stuff is really nice as well. All in all, it's not a one-trick pony, not quite as diverse as previous, but this is still very interesting to listen to and well worth checking. And if you did like the last one, this is worth checking out. It will be a taste one, though. This is one of those bands that isn't going to be for absolutely everyone kind of a thing. It's one of those, give it a listen, make it up, your own mind on it and see where you land, because it is one of those ones where, everyone, like Brendan said, you can't really describe this band in a very definitive way. And you're either going to get into it or you're not. It's going to be one of those sort of bands, I think. But I think it's worth listening to, and I think it is one of those ones that grows on you the more it does, the more you spin it. So it probably will get higher on your thinking there, Brendan, because for me it got better every time I listened to it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I picked Justice, A Secret Door, and Scream Until You Wake as my standouts on that one. But because we have Brendan here, we have mandatory breaks imposed. So right now we're going to take a brief intermission. We're back from our little intermission there. We're going to move on to Gamma Ray with Sigh No More. We're going back in time for this one. This is 13 tracks for 67 minutes for the 2002 re-release. It's the second studio album the German band originally released, though, in September 1991 via Noise Records. Produced by Tommy Newton. The original release had 10 tracks with 47 minutes as well. We're doing this as the final sort of spin-off from our Halloween special because we're doing that toward the end of the month. And this is where during the month we try and do little things in the orbit of the band we're focusing on. And this is the last one of those. So for this one, I think we'll go to... Who went first last time? It was Brendan first last time, wasn't it?
Yep.
All right, so Tim, you can go first on this one.
So out of all the Halloween side projects that we've done, I actually think this is... Somebody goes crazy outside. I don't think this is the worst one, but I think this is the least interesting one.
Okay. All right.
So I found this to be a cross between the Unisonic album and the Pink Cream 69 album.
Okay.
Like an early 90s version of that Unisonic album.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
I think, again, it was a little more precise and a little bit cleaner than that Pink Cream 69 album. You didn't have all the complaints that I had about that one, about chopping and editing and all that. The songwriting was much better. Performances were really good, again, but it just wasn't up to the standard of that Unisonic album.
Yeah. They did set the bar for these side projects, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, again, and it's completely different to the other one that we did, which I cannot remember the name of.
Unisonic or...
The one with all the synthy stuff.
Yeah, I've got it here. I've got to work out what it was now. It was Master Plan. That's what it was.
That's the one. Again, completely different to all that. Probably more in the realm of these two. But, yeah, for me, it was just, neither here nor there. I thought, there was nothing particularly bad about it, but nothing particularly good either.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, 7 out of 10. No real standouts. Yeah, it was an album.
Yep. It's funny because I was actually planning on us doing this one first. I wonder if your review would have been different if we'd done this one before doing Unisonic. Do you know what I mean? Just
I'd have buried it.
All right. Well, Brendan, follow that up.
Well, I can't really because it's kind of agree. It's just it's the kind of thing that I reckon I would have enjoyed at the time. But being that I've never really listened to Gamma Ray, that this just kind of feels like I'd heard it.
Yeah.
There was nothing about this that made me go, oh, fuck, hello. There's something going on here that's really interesting, It was kind of I've heard this kind of power metal thing out of Europe on many an occasion, and I don't really need to hear it again now. Now, like I said, if I had heard it in 91, I probably would have been a lot more impressed because it probably would have been a bit fresher and a bit newer and all that kind of stuff. But now it's just kind of again, we're just sort of we're backing over stuff again. And that's not to say it's bad because it fucking isn't. Like, all the performances are phenomenal. I actually really like the sound of it. It's a bit time stamped, but I don't dislike that because that was my time. So I kind of.
If you grow up with it,
it is time stamped, but it's not time stamped as much as it should be.
It's held up pretty well.
Yeah. I did enjoy it. It didn't blow me away. I wouldn't turn it off. If it was on at a party, it'd be like, yeah, cool. Who's this? It was all right. But I gave it 7 out of 10 as well, oddly enough. The highlights for me were Start Running and Changes. And the bass sound on Start Running particularly I thought was really, really nice. There
were some good tricks in that regard. Isolating certain tones was really nicely done on this. A lot of people like this band a lot. I'm not overly familiar with it. I did enjoy this record. I want to dig in a bit more after this. But like has been said, this sounds pretty good today for, this is the 2002 edition. The original release is 91, but this is held up pretty fucking good. What is it now? 30 years just about on. Pretty impressive. I thought the performances were fucking great on this. The dual guitar work and the vocals in particular were the standout elements in that regard. But everything from top to bottom was really good. But the solos were what was like, fuck me. There is some great guitar playing on this record, which is why I think a lot of the people that I know like this band are very much into that sort of thing. So if you like the flashy guitar stuff, this is going to be a record that, will get your attention pretty quickly. I get what everyone's saying about it because for me, this is a bit of a slow burn kind of an album. It took a bit of time. It starts off a little bit sedate as well, which doesn't help it. So it doesn't have that opening bang, get your attention kind of a listen, which makes you go sit up and go, okay, I better pay attention to what's going on here. It sort of just builds its way into its energy kind of a thing. once it gets moving, it's a hell of a solid record. It's really well written. I think the lyrics were done well in that regard as well. It is of the era in that regard as well as the sounds. But I think it is also one of those ones where it is remarkable how it has, like, it's not as badly timestamped as it could or should be in a lot of respects, because it's managed to, between the lyrics and the sounds, it hasn't aged in the tacky or horrible way that becomes all cringeworthy kind of thing. It's just one of those ones, you can put it on today and it still sounds at least remotely relevant, as opposed to one of the ones where you sit there and go, there's no way this is going to happen today kind of a thing. The little bits of 80s synth in there, the use of the rhythm syncopation from the era as well was good. It gave it some fun. For me, there's that nostalgia effect. You go back, I grew up listening to a lot of this sort of era of music. Even if you went into this band or whatever else, you heard what was going on at the time in this record. So you got a nostalgia hit out of it too. But the vocals were solid. Like, there's some good wail on here, but also the use of the entire vocal range, so from low to mid to top end, was really well done. It actually complemented the songs really nicely, which again sort of gives you a bit more of a throwback to the 80s a little bit too in that regard, because you did get a lot of that going on there as well. While it does get a bit like go off to a slower sort of start, it does, once it kicks into gear, the peaks and troughs are pretty good on it. Everything's pretty well. It's a well done professional album. So it's still fun, brings you, some feelings supposed to feel when you listen to a record like this, but it's very much a professional album. If that, people might view that as a good or a bad thing, I don't know, but that was one of the words that came to me when I was listening to this record. When it comes to the bonus tracks on this, they're pretty cool. They do extend it a bit too far overall. I think the original cut is where this album is at its prime. I don't think you need the bonus stuff really. It is nice, but it's worth checking out the demo version of Dream Healer, if nothing else, because that is cool in its longer extended kind of a form there. Basically, if you like it melodic and rocking with a few little twists and turns along the way, this is for you. Anything from sort of Dio to Skid Row is where I sort of landed on this one for mine. 8.5 out of 10. We Won't Stop the War, Start Running, and Dream Healer were my standouts. But we'll move on. And we've got one more to go, which means time for the main event of the evening. And this week it is Trivium with What the Dead Men Say. 10 tracks for 46 minutes. It's the 9th studio album from the American band, released April 2020 via Roadrunner. Produced by Josh Wilbur at Studio 606 West and Full Sail University. We haven't really covered a lot of this band before on the show. I think we've done maybe one album in the past from memory. I'm not even sure who I did it with. We have not really touched on Trivium a lot. I know that a lot of people are going to be shocked at that, so maybe we should do a deep dive on the band at some point. Tim's obviously thinking we should. Obviously, Brendan is too, from the look on his face. So on that one, it was nice to get around to doing this one. And Brendan, we'll go to you first.
Trivium is a band I like to fall in and out of love with all the time. I liked their early stuff, although I didn't like the, ultra screamo to boy band vocal thing that they used to do more heavily or more. It was more pronounced. Their middle albums were actually my favourites, which probably puts me out of favour with most sort of Trivium fans. Okay. I really enjoyed In Waves, Vengeance Falls, and Silence in the Snow are like my favourite Trivium albums.
Yep.
This
I've
one
heard a lot of good things about In Waves. Yeah.
Huh?
We've heard a lot of good things about In Waves.
Great album.
Yeah.
Great album.
Oh, In Waves is a classic.
Yeah. Those three for me were the shit. The last one wasn't bad. This one feels like it was falling off the perch a little bit for me. Again, not bad, not badly performed, not badly written, not badly captured. Actually, it sounds pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Hard to fault anything with the production, but for me, that whiny boy band vocal sort of crept back in. Where in those sort of the middle albums, there was a bit more conventional thrash, which was kind of going to appeal to old pricks like me. This kind of like going back to where they started, which is probably going to please some of their more rusted on fans. But for me, it was kind of like, fuck, I thought kind of we got past this a bit. So, yeah, look, it's not going to be one of my favourite albums. I'll give it some more spins. It might grow on me a bit, but on the couple of listens I gave it, it didn't really grab me. But anyway, it's far from bad, just pretty me whinging.
Yep.
So I gave it 7.5 out of 10. The Defiant, What Dead Men Say, and Bleed Into Me were my faves.
Cool. All right, Tim, where'd you land on this one?
I love this album.
Yeah, got some different.
Yeah, I don't think this band gets the credit that they deserve. To be frank, because again, look, I've liked this band since Ascendancy came out, which is fucking 10 years or 15 years ago now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ascendancy.
Wow.
Just about. And
2005. Fuck.
there you go. So the reason why I say that is because you got to remember when that album came out, Matt Heafy was 19 years old, right? And the metalcore thing was what was popular then. I mean, in hindsight, we look back at 2005 now and we think, the great Mastodon albums and Lamb of God kicking it hard and all that, and bands like Baroness just starting out. But at the time, what was popular was metalcore.
Yeah,
and you had this band led by a young, good-looking 19-year-old that everybody wanted to shove down everyone's throats.
Yep.
So if you look at the other bands from that era and the bands that, pioneered that sound and look at where they are today, every single one of them is either fallen apart or they're a nostalgia band. And Trivium are the only band that have actually kept themselves relevant.
Okay.
And I don't think they get enough credit for that. They are, and as has been covered, by Brendan, their growth in sound from a metalcore band to a almost justice type songwriting, Justice for All type songwriting, to a more of a modern metal sound to this, which there's a lot of, again, I do get a lot of that early metalcore stuff on this, but there's a lot of great, tremolo picking riffs on here, and there's a lot of great, just solid hard rock, piss your parents off kind of stuff.
Yep.
Which I really like. And yeah, I can't fault this at all. I think, this is one of their better efforts overall.
Okay.
I think my favorite album of theirs is Shogun, personally.
Okay.
But yeah.
I've heard good things about that one as well.
Yeah, so look, if you're into Trivium and you're into sort of modern metal and you're willing to give it a shot, I'd definitely give this a go. And as expected from a band like this, everything's prim and proper and fantastically well done. What dead men say, bleeding to me, sickness onto you, and scattering the ashes of my standouts. 9 out of 10.
Wow, cool. Be a weird question. I'm probably going to get rage in the comments. I don't know about where this stands, but this is not of my traditional era or wheelhouse kind of a thing from the time. But you were talking about bands of the era that sort of managed to stay relevant and others that became parodies of themselves ultimately. Where do you land on Bullet for My Valentine in this sort of context?
I think they're a parody of themselves.
Okay. So, and they fit in the same sort of bracket, like era-wise?
Again, that's sort of that metalcore band, and, again, actually very similar to Trivium in the sense that you had the young, good-looking frontman.
That's what made me think of it, yeah.
And, they got and that turned into a little bit more of a thrash band. But again, once, what's that album? Screaming Fire came out.
Yep.
I don't think you can compare that to the Bullet for My Valentine always had a good single. Their albums were never that good.
Okay.
Trivium at least have good albums.
Okay.
Compare it to a Kill Switch Engage.
Okay. Yep.
That's a complete nostalgia band these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or however many metalcore bands. Freaking you could even put Bring Me the Horizon in that category.
Okay. Yep.
Because their first tour of Australia was a co-headliner with Bullet for My Valentine, the Hi-Fi in Melbourne.
Yep.
And they're, if you look at what they're doing now, it's fucking horseshit.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, that's all good. This isn't my traditional wheelhouse. I wanted to get, some thoughts just off the cuff on where it all sort of lands and sort of where Trivium sits in the grand scheme of things when it comes to other bands that, are from the same sort of era of time and all that sort of stuff as well. So it's cool to hear that this is a band that's been, pretty consistent for you over the years as well, because it's not a band that I've invested a lot of time in, clearly, which I know will probably, again, get me a lot of hate, but oh well, there's only so many things I can listen to any given year. But no, it's cool. Like, I do want to go and check out more. I do intend to at some point, whenever I can. I will go through their discography at some stage. So I do hear very good things. There's a lot of love for this band out there. And also, Matt Heafy on his socials is pretty fucking spectacular too. He does a very good job on all that sort of stuff. For me, this is melodic and heavy, probably more melody than I was actually expecting from, knowing the pedigree or history of the band and going into it sort of almost for the first time kind of thing. It's like, okay, more melody than I thought there was going to be. It's got some hooks in there, but it's got that sort of melodic death metal effect while Nala does something beside me there. This actually put me in a mindset of what would be a cross between sort of things like Stone Sour, Alter Bridge, and Slipknot. Like, it's somewhere in that vein for me listening to it. It's got some pretty blistering stuff, particularly in the drums and the guitar. I found that double kick and the guitar riffing was pretty cool in that regard. It's got the vocals that go with that style, but also it's not, but that opens up into a nice clean vocal. And I get why some people do or don't like that, but I think his vocal tone is actually really nicely suited to what they've done with this record. I think he's got a really nice tone and it works well with what they're doing here. I like how they've composed the songs. The tempo changes are good in there. They've made these things heavy but also melodic, and nothing's overly generic to me. I know some people might disagree with me on that one, but I thought there was nothing overly generic on this. Nothing amazingly new at the same time, but it's all very well done. And there were just a few little subtle sort of prog-like touches in there just to make the songs interesting, little things in the composition there. The hooks and the clean guitar tone on this were fucking amazing for mine. When those two combined, that was the highlight of the record for me. There's some great performances, great writing, all that sort of stuff. But for all the heaviness, it's got that accessibility which comes from those cleaner tones and the soaring sort of vocal that went with it. That was really nice. Like the harmony takes on that. There was some really good melodic, stuff going on there. I really enjoyed that. And I think the album is pretty well balanced overall. It's pretty sort of an accessible listen and holds up on repeat listens. The mix was nice and punchy on the same tone. Those clearer tones were where it really stood out for me, but the way it was blended overall for a record that's as heavy as this, they didn't go for the sound wall or that sound war effect that everything gets crunched to the shit house. There's a lot of space, a lot of headroom on this. Sounds really, really good. Like Brendan said, you can't fault the way this is mixed. For the style of music in particular, how it's so easy to get to go so wrong, they did it very, very well on this record. It does have that sort of digitized effect, but it's a tonal thing, not a snap to the grid thing. It's the guitar tones that are coming through. I don't know when they've reamped or whatever else they've done something there, which has that edge on the tone, which won't probably appeal to the old school purists that want the Marshall tone. It's none of that sort of stuff going on here. It's got that crisp tone to it overall, but that works with the style of music and it's very well done. Like, it's a very unfair term, that digitized word, because everyone thinks of the Fear Factory snap to the grid kind of thing. This isn't that. This has plenty of groove and feel in the playing. That's just the way there are some tones in there that sort of put me in mind of it. Basically, if you like it heavy and melodic with some, pretty good hooks in there, it's well worth checking out. It's going to get your attention. If you're like me, not overly familiar with Trivium, this might be a pretty good place to start because it's made me curious. I want to go and check out a lot more than I have to date. So 8 out of 10 from me. I picked the Defiant, the Catastrophist, and the Ones We Leave Behind, and those were the ones with the strongest hooks because that was what got my attention in that regard. But that then brings us to the conclusion of this week's broadcast. Thank you both for taking the time to sit down and go through a bunch of albums with me this week. For those of you out there watching, thank you for sitting here and taking the time to put up with us doing our usual stupidity. Details, as always, are in the description of this, whether you're watching or listening to us. You can get us on podcasts, you can watch us on YouTube and all sort of stuff as well. So please follow us on all of our social media platforms, and please do also check out our Patreon page. Any support you can give us via that platform would be greatly appreciated. There's some pretty cool rewards in there. It doesn't cost much at all. So check it out, please. Every little bit does really add up, especially in these times. While we're speaking of things like that, a special thank you again to our wonderful, amazing sponsors in Squidding, Screen Printing, Alt Cult, and Rockstar Finance. If nothing else, please do follow them on social. Again, the links are there as well. Just give them a follow and see if there's anything you'd like to see from what they're doing, because they're doing some pretty cool stuff there too. Our next special, which we've referenced, is going to be Halloween for Halloween in 2020. If everything goes to plan, we'll actually release that in full on Halloween night, but we'll see how we go with that. There's a few things to organise for now and then. But while we're on that sort of stuff, make sure you tune in and watch us on television as well. That's 10:30 on Saturday nights on Channel 31 in Melbourne and 10:30 on Thursday nights on Channel 44 in Adelaide. We are there. Not sure. Well, our next episode is actually the Halloween one, so that's what we're going to be doing next time around. We're going to be basically going through the majority, if not all of their discography, at least studio discography. So there's a lot of work to get through. We'll have a few people coming in and out of that one. Hopefully it'll be an interesting one. We'll see how it all plays out. October, we worked out last time that October is a shit fight. You can't. Well, Tim and I were saying that October seems to be a time of that we just need to get everyone to make notes on, because last year I think Tim and I did a special entirely just about on our own, and October seems to go pear-shaped for everyone, which is bizarre because it's usually Halloween for some of us, and particularly Dave. It's their favorite time of year. So a bit of fun. But we'll see how it goes. So that's what we're doing next time around. But now, without any further ado... There we go. I'm getting better at this sort of stuff. Time for the bin. And that alone has made Brendan lose his shit. So while Brendan composes himself, Tim, what have you got for the bin for us this week?
Bullshit. People overpricing dumb shit.
Okay. Yep. All right.
So like, we all remember when Rick and Morty came out and they were selling 10-year-old McDonald's Szechuan sauce for $30,000 or whatever it was.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Right. So this week, the most expensive Pokemon card ever sold.
How much?
Happened with 300,000 Australian dollars.
Jesus.
It's part of the reason why I'm putting this in the bin is because it's a card that I had and threw away.
So this is you putting yourself in the bin without actually putting yourself in the bin.
Partly, yes, but for a paper laminated card with a little bit of a hologram on it, man, fuck, $300,000, man. That's so much money.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be worth what people are willing to pay.
It's not worth that.
No, it isn't. But someone's willing to pay it, so it is.
Yeah.
Well, that person should be lined up against a wall.
That's also true.
That person go in the bin as well.
Oh, the socioeconomics of trading cards. Tim,
that's my bin.
That's a bit. No.
Because Tim wouldn't have grown up with the sports card phase like Brendan and I would have.
No, we had Pokemon cards.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting. All right, Brendan, over to you.
The school drop-off can go in the bin. I've enjoyed 6 months of no fucking traffic.
Yep.
But all you parents that drive your fucking super over-entitled fucking children to school every day and pick them up every day can go and fuck yourselves. You're raising a bunch of entitled wankers. You know, like, fuck me. Like, I'm not giving you the whole, I had to walk through fucking 20 miles in the snow to get to fucking school every day, but I did have to catch a bus and a train. Mum didn't fucking drop me off, and if she did, it was because we missed the fucking bus, and if we missed the bus, we were fucking slaughtered when we got home that day. You're a bunch of wankers if you are too scared to let your fucking child ride a bike to school because they might fall off. Fuck you. Children are supposed to learn about gravity by falling out of a fucking tree. That's how it works. And if you're going to wrap them in fucking cotton wool until they're fucking 28, I hope they're living at home when they're fucking 48 and still sponging off you and you're still paying their fucking phone bill. Go fuck yourselves. There you go.
You wanted to get that one off your chest for a while, haven't you?
Wow. Feel better?
Yep.
Yeah.
Guess who doesn't have kids? This guy.
No. There's probably a good reason for that. Oh wow! But I do hardly agree with it. That's it is something that's very interesting to watch play out these days. Especially someone who, like you, did go to school via train and bus and everything else in between as well, with a long walk to go on top of it. Yeah. I should really go first for the bin because I'm going to really bring it down again, but I'm going to put in particular Josh Frydenberg in the bin this week. He can fuck right off.
Yeah, I should have gone last.
Yeah, you should have gone last. I'm going to have to make it a point. You have to remind me, like, you remind me about, your toilet breaks. You've got to have those intermissions. You've got to make it a point for me to go first on the bin from now on.
No, whoever's got a funny bin should go last.
Last, yes, that's true. So yeah, that's he's a prick. He can fuck off. On a slightly different note, I'm also going to put teeth in the bin because I've got a broken tooth at the moment and it's just fucking with me, so I can fuck off. Just for something different there as well. But yeah, that's it. I'm done. I didn't want to make it a long-winded rant this week. I was like, no, that'll do. I think people will know why I'm talking about what I'm talking about, and if they don't, it won't be hard to figure it out. So whatever. I'm not going to add to the general malaise that's going on at the moment. We're nearly there. Let's just get through the fucking lockdown for another couple of weeks and just get it over with. That's mine.
Let's, please.
Yes.
And Tim has to move closer so we can rehearse.
Yes.
Yeah. We could just rehearse in the middle.
No, we can't. We tried. Anyway, we'll come back to this.
All right. Well, on that note, we're about to go and sort these guys out with their rehearsal schedule. We'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you again to you guys for helping me out with this week's episode. It's wonderful to catch up with you again as we do here every week. And thank you again to you out there watching us do our stupidity as well. But we'll see you all again very soon. Until then, I'm Andrew.
I'm Brendan.
And Tim.
As always,
drink up.
Go Tigers.
Rock on. Throw that in there, didn't you?
Did you see the Gretsch? Did I show you the Gretsch?
You sent a photo through. There it is. How's it play?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good fun guitar to play.
I do like my baritone, though. It's got a nice mean feel to it.
I used to have a 7-string Ibanez that was floating.
Oh, wow. That would be annoying as all fuck, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was awful. House got burgled. That guitar got stolen. Guess what? I did not replace it. We were playing a lot of Limp Bizkit in the cover band at the time. It was justified.
So were you getting your Wes Borland on, were you?
Yeah.
Did the whole makeup and everything?
No.
Oh, fuck. I want photos.
It wasn't a tribute band.
Oh, you're just doing a lot of it. Just see, knowing you, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a tribute band.
No, I'm not that into Limp Bizkit. I'll probably do it now. Just for shits and gigs.
I'll cut that and put it out there and see if anyone wants you to do one. Just do a one.
I'll do it.
You can be John Otto, you reckon? You can
I'll do it for a one-off show. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Forget the damn Orange presents Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit.